And we are recording. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, doing well. How are you?
Yeah, man, not too bad. Same old life. Nothing exciting.
Well, unless you're Will Smith.
Unless you're Will Smith. Oh my god.
That's a slap.
I guess that's a perfect segue into
Straight into it.
what we want to talk about. I don't think there's any other topic that you can actually talk about this week, or at least you can start the podcast off with, but the slap that was heard all around the world. Which I'm not sure if anyone hasn't heard the story, but it's basically Will Smith slapping Chris Rock for making a joke about his wife doing the Oscars while he was hosting the show. So, you know what? I'll throw it straight to you. So what did you think of the whole situation?
I thought initially it was a bit of a joke. I thought it was two friends playing around with each other. It's Will Smith as well. Will Smith is that guy. He's so cool, so composed. And when he's speaking, he's always speaking in very calm terms, I never saw him as the guy to escalate a situation.
Do you know what? It's interesting you say that. So I woke up, I saw the clip, right, on YouTube. I think like The Guardian or someone shared it. And the first time I saw it, right, I honestly thought...
I'm just going to say this. The Guardian, right? I know we'll drop the name again. If you want to collaborate with us.
The shameless plugs will always happen on this podcast.
Hey, I'm shamelessly plugging, and happy to do it as well.
And I would also like to add, we do not discriminate, so it doesn't have to be The Guardian. If you're any corporation out there, money's money. That's all we care about.
Even the Daily Mail?
Nah, not that. No, not that. We've got standards here, all right? Not that. But yeah, so the first time I saw it, right, I thought it was scripted. And the reason why I thought it was scripted is because, when he walks up to the stage and his motion of slapping, it almost felt like he's kind of practiced it in a movie situation where he's like, how you would do it on set, right?
Yeah.
It almost felt like that to me. And then obviously everyone was laughing and Chris Rock was just like, oh, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. So like, it kind of felt like it was all part of one joke. And then he went back to his seat and then obviously he was like, keep my wife's name out of your mouth, blah, 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 right? And then, but like, when I first saw it, I thought it was all scripted. And then obviously as the situation's kind of developed and like him coming out and apologizing, and today either he's been kicked out or he himself has left the academy. I have got no idea what that means.
Is that Will Smith?
Yeah, Will Smith. So like he's left the academy. Don't know what that means. But it was real. Like I think the slap was real.
Do you know what? I maybe in terms of us discussing this in general, it's more really about celebrities and kind of the spotlight they're under as well. I think one of the most critical things is there's always these moments that everyone talks about, that the celebrity moment. I think with the Will Smith one, I've been kind of looking around at the situation. So Will Smith talked about prior to this, right? So there's the Will Smith aspect, and then there's the Jada and Chris Rock aspect, right? So in terms of Will Smith, so he experienced domestic violence when he was a young kid. So his father used to abuse his mum physically and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And he always felt like a coward, right? Because he never did anything. He never did anything about it. Obviously, children should not be put in that position in the first place, let alone to be in a position where they feel like they should be doing something. Then after it, that they should have done something. That's a whole messed up situation in itself. And he's always felt like that in terms of his life. Like he always felt like he was freezing. So whenever people are talking about his family or talking about him making a joke, he always freezes. And I feel like that was the moment where, because he's also quite jovial, isn't he? He's always like that uncle. He's like an uncle to everyone in popular culture, right? Like The Fresh Prince, The Pursuit of Happiness, Hitch, all those films, right? But for him to go and like slap someone at that particular moment when everyone's watching, I think it was more kind of him taking back control to an extent, being like, I'm not just freezing. This guy's taking, is like mocking my wife's health condition. So that's that Jada and Chris Rock kind of situation where Chris Rock is making a joke about someone's health condition. I guess if you're a comedian, you're like, nothing is off limits.
Like,
but then should certain things be off limits? Because it's someone's health condition. Like, you can't just that. You don't know what you don't know what someone's going through behind closed doors, right? That's where that celebrity aspect comes in. He's also a celebrity. He's like, well, I've made my money and fame, actually, by kind of creating humor from these very tricky and difficult situations that people are going through.
Do you know what? You say that, right? And I understand what you mean about, like people have health conditions, and I understand, like, you can get sensitive about it. Like, I understand what you mean. But then at the same time, all right, there's a couple of things here, right? So I'm not sure if you've seen this, but if you look at Will's initial reaction, he's actually laughing. And he's laughing it's not like he's just smirking.
Maybe
he's actually laughing. Like, he's laughing until he looks at her, and then I don't know what look she gave him, but something just snapped in him where he was like, okay, like, I gotta do something here. But here's my other thing though, right? Like, the whole Oscars, like, initial monologue thing is, if you're in the audience, someone's gonna take the piss out of you. Someone's gonna make a joke. That's the whole situation. Like, no one's actually meaning for that joke to be hurtful. Yeah. It's all about having a laugh. Because I'm pretty sure Chris Rock knows Will Smith quite well. He knows Jada quite well. So it's not like they're strangers here. And
I get what you mean.
You know what the situation is. You know what to expect, right? So even if you didn't find that joke to be, funny at all, right, fair enough. Don't laugh at that situation. Don't laugh at that moment, right? And then you will have plenty of opportunities to meet him both behind the scenes or maybe outside and just be like, hey, I'll be honest with you. That joke that you made, I get the whole, you were at the Oscars and, like, we're all there to have a laugh, but I didn't appreciate it. So, like, going forward, be a bit more careful.
It's like the I'll meet you outside of the school gate kind of situation.
It's not even meet you outside. It's like, I'm friends with you. Do you know what I mean? So I would just be like, I'll get plenty of opportunities to talk to you. Like, for you to get up and just slap the guy. And you know what? You have to give Chris Rock so much credit, though, because that guy handled it like a champ. He got slapped on his face while presenting, and he continued. Oh, that's normal.
Do you know what I was thinking? Like, he must have got abused so much in his career. He must have had that done to him before.
You think so? Because, like, nothing's come up so far, though.
No, he must. When they do the circuits and stuff, go around different places, I think you have to get used to it, because sometimes, like, crowds get rowdy. Like, I went to a comedy show a couple months ago, like, loads of different comedians kind of on stage, sharing the stage, all that kind of stuff. There's this row of drunk people in front of them. Like, the first row, drunk. Really, really drunk. And they were really loud. They were interrupting the comedian. They were, like, chucking stuff at the comedian just because they could, right? It wasn't like they had anything against the comedians, right? They were just being disruptive. And I think as a comedian, you come across that so many times that when it happens, you almost have, like, a reflex reaction just to continue with the show. You're like, I've got my jokes. I need to continue doing my jokes.
But there's a difference between you being at a comedy club, right, with people who are drunk, and you being at the Oscars. One of your friends just walks up and slaps you, which has never happened in the history of Oscars.
It's the same thing. The comedy clubs in East London are just the Oscars, no? It's practice.
I don't expect Chris Rock or Kevin Hart to be turning up anytime soon to come test out there.
No joke. They've been at that club, though. I'm not naming the club, I'm not giving them free publicity. Again, shameless plugging here. But no, in all seriousness, though, it's that aspect where there's a human element in terms of celebrities, right? We see them as entertainers, but also at the same time, when they're going through that human feeling, that human anger, we can all relate to it. We can all relate to someone just bursting out, but then the other person on the other side as well. So I think both of them come off as really, like, human,
It's interesting you say that, and we'll come back to Will Smith, right? But I think for Chris Rock, like, regardless of what your opinion is on the joke, and, like, obviously, because Jada's got the health condition, like, people can say whatever, right? But I think in the moment, how he handled it, the fact that not only did he not retaliate back, because clearly we know now it wasn't scripted, he actually got slapped on stage, right? Not only did he not retaliate in the moment, imagine if he, at that moment, said, security, kick him out now.
the game's the game. It is what it is.
Do you get what I mean?
Would have been kicked out. Yeah.
If in that
Absolutely.
moment he turned around and said, "Security, I want this dude out of here right now because he just slapped me," that's over for Will Smith. Like his career is over.
Yeah, and I think
Especially in today's world, bro, where people get done for like much smaller things. Do you get what I mean? Like if something just sticks and you're all over Twitter and you've been cancelled, right? If he turned around and was like, "Get this dude out of here right now, I want him removed," and security had to grab Will Smith, right, in the middle of the Oscars and the whole cameras are on him. And bro, it's not even like it was like they met somewhere outside where it happened. It happened at the Oscars where the whole industry that you're a part of is sitting.
I mean, no one's cancelling Will Smith. let's put that out there. That guy is not going away.
I hope that he doesn't go away because obviously I'm a fan of his, you know, like Fresh Prince and like you said, right? Like the whole, he's been there for such a long time and there's so many things. But do you think his career at the top, his career where we've seen him all his career pretty much more or less like right at the top, right? Being one of the biggest stars, do you think that is over?
It's not over. I'll tell you why. Like in terms of Will Smith, I think it's not over, right? Because he's so talented and he still has people's attention and affection as well. So it's very difficult for people to lose that, right? Because he's influenced so many generations in so many different ways. So there is the Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah.
Their album was the first hip-hop album to win a Grammy. So that's one side of Will Smith, right? And then there's also the Fresh Prince, and then there's the films that come with it.
Yeah,
it's
but
he's a very like well-rounded entertainer, if that makes sense. So he's not going away.
If a top Hollywood producer is no longer going to call him to audition for a role, right? Like I'm not denying his talent here, and like I said, right, I am not saying he should be cancelled or anything. I'm pretty sure him and Chris Rock can sit down, you know, discuss the situation. He's already apologized.
Say with your chest.
Yeah, like he's already apologized, but I'm pretty sure they'll talk about it in person if they haven't already, because like they've got their own personal relationship as well. So I'm sure like it'll be fine. And he's made a mistake, and you know he shouldn't be cancelled for it, because I'm a fan of his. But if no Hollywood producer is going to call you,
I love how your definition of cancelling someone. I don't want them cancelled. I'm just a fan.
No, because like obviously, if you're a fan of someone, you don't want them to be cancelled, innit? Like people make mistakes, right? But like if no producer or no director is calling you after that whole situation, then effective. It's not just down to like that's it, right? Like if you're no longer a consideration for me as a producer to say, yeah, should I call Will Smith or not? Then in a way, it's a wrap for you.
I think there's also an element where Will Smith does hold enough influence that I think he's got his own production company, so he can create his own scripts from scratch really and produce something.
Is that going to be the blockbusters though?
Yeah, well, maybe not, but he's not going to.
Like, that's where we see him though, right? Like he's a blockbuster superstar. He's not like a movie star. He's a freaking superstar, bro. Like he's Will Smith.
But he's not going out of business anytime soon. I think he will not be struggling to pay the bills. Let's put it that way.
Oh, he doesn't have to work to struggle for that. Like I'm sure he's got more than enough saved up. Like
he's not going to be going around saying the cost of living is going up, inflation has gone up. But on a similar kind of note, right? Like this is when we change topic. So changes slight topic. Other celebrity controversies, right? I think the good thing about this, right, is kind of celebrities are like everyone's neighbours to an extent. You know, back in the day when people used to know their neighbours, talk to their neighbours, all that kind of stuff, there used to be like local gossip, I think. Like people gossiping about each other's lives. I think celebrities give people the opportunity to do that, but in a digital age, one that focuses on a particular set of individuals rather than your next door neighbours.
Yeah, so are you saying that we've almost replaced kind of talking about our neighbours with talking about celebrities instead?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Me and you at this moment in time are talking about our celebrities instead of our neighbours, which is healthy-ish, I think. We
are talking about a very specific moment though, like you know, like we're not discussing their day-to-day lives and like what they've been up to, and you know, like this is like a very, you know, like how you talked about cultural moments, right? This is going to be one of those, because like this will be remembered forever. no matter how people remember it, they will remember it.
Yeah, it's a culturally significant moment. And it gives people, I suppose it's different, right? So in this moment, we're talking about that specific moment. But there's also other celebrities that people talk about, right? So I think a few weeks ago, we sat down and looked at Google Trends. And it was just the Kardashians all over, right? All over, on a day-by-day, week-to-week basis. One of their names will pop up in the top 20. So this is a top 20, not just in the US, right? In the UK and globally. Their names will just pop up. They're constantly feeding it. So maybe we don't talk about it on a day-to-day basis in terms of what's happening in kind of celebrities' lives. But a lot of people talk about celebrities on a day-to-day basis in terms of what's happening with their lives.
Some people live for that celebrity culture, though, innit? Like that's their whole thing. Like, oh, what's Kim doing today? I don't know about you, but like personally, I find it a bit sad.
I know Kim Kardashian keeps a lot of people in employment, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people have to write about her, read about her. Yeah,
there's loads of bloggers, there's loads of influencers. You kind of work.
There's a lot.
So it's a whole industry.
Kim K wannabes who get the cheap like modeling jobs that people can't afford Kim K for.
It's not the same, but different kind of energy. But no, that's it, right? So in terms of celebrities, there's this whole culture around it, and it'd be interesting to see where the world goes from here in terms of how people interact with celebrities and what they do over time. But my takeaway point is celebrities are here to stay. They are like our next door neighbours, but just more famous and more public with what's happening in their lives.
You know, one celebrity that people love talking about, regardless of if you are supporting him or if you're shitting on him, is Kanye West. Like, this guy doesn't help himself at all.
Yo, AZ, I'm gonna let you finish.
How, Sway? You ain't got the answers, Sway. You ain't got the answers, Tinashe. You ain't got the answers. Like, this guy has not helped himself in any situation. It's like, sometimes it's just like, dude, put your phone away. Stop putting your Instagram captions and stop tweeting for like just a couple of days. Let things settle down a little bit.
And let people absorb what you just said.
Exactly.
I think, I don't know. He's interesting, right? So his whole journey, and then if you talk about cultural moments, yo, Taylor, I'm gonna let you finish.
Oh my god!
But Beyonce had best videos of all time.
You know what? I think that's where his whole like this troll, like social media thing that he's got going on. I think that's where it all started. Because like before then, I can't remember him having that moment where people are like, "Yeah, he's a prick."
I think he's always been one though. Like,
yeah,
he's always been.
He's been one, but it was never like a mainstream thing where it's like, "Oh, come on, Kanye, don't do that."
But I think his entertainment again. Like he produces entertainment, produces art, and that's entertainment, right? Produces clothes, all that kind of stuff. But then also his lifestyle. I think this is the whole kind of celebrity cultures in terms of what's happening, like humanizing them and being able to understand them. So Will Smith, that domestic violence affecting how he feels powerless in particular moments. I think Kanye West is bipolar, but then also he lost his mother, right? So it's in a very public way. So everything is publicized. It's in the public domain.
But I feel like
it's like one of your relatives. It's like you might be like one of those uncles. You're like, actually, Will Smith is like your favorite uncle, right? He's like your uncle that you want to hang out with. He brings the gifts. He's super nice. He's super chilled. But it's Kanye is like one of those uncles. You're like, I'm not sure if I can take this uncle like to places. Can I be seen in public with him?
He almost it's almost like he loves the what's the word I'm looking for here? He loves all the attention that he's getting. Like he craves it. Yeah, which is why every single like when his whole thing with like Kim was going on, he was like, I can't see my kids and blah blah blah, and he was just going on like this massive like Twitter feed rant every single day, right? Like, honestly, bro, there was a point where you couldn't open up Instagram without seeing about 30 or 40 Kanye related, like, feeds, right? Of Kanye said this or Kanye said that. And, like, how do you think about this? Like, what do you feel about Kanye saying this? Or, like, what would you do in the situation? It's just like, it gets to a point where you're thinking, like, I don't really care.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I think celebrities are plugging a gap where people have a desire to be nosy about other people's lives. But also at the same time, it's an industry that people are feeding off. I mean, ironically, we're talking about celebrities. Does that make sense? At this particular moment in time, we're talking about celebrities. And that creates content in itself. There's a whole industry out there where people are writing about them, like very formal media platforms that talk about them. So it's one of those things where it's perpetual, right? It perpetuates itself. You don't really want to experience it, but in any platform that you have access to, it's almost fed to you, right?
Yeah, but here's the difference between, like, you talking about your next door neighbors and a celebrity, right? Your next door neighbor doesn't profit, like, from the gossip, for example, right? So what I'm trying to say is, right, like, and I think it's becoming a real thing now, where most of these celebrities, where before it was about your talent and, you know, like, how talented you are, whatever you do, whether that's acting, being a comedian, singing, rapping, whatever it was, right? And people would judge you based on that. And you would kind of get your fame and, you know, how much people know you would be based on how good you are. That's changed from how popular you are, regardless of what you do.
Yeah. And then
it's all become a popularity contest. And that is why these people love this attention and they crave it so much, because, and everyone just falls into it. And people are buying into this crap. And it's just like, if we take Kanye, right, and he's going through all the situation, and then he's like, oh, the world's against me, and all this, like, crap that he's going on about. It's like, dude, if you honestly took 2 weeks out of social media, you don't post anything on Twitter, you don't post anything on Insta, and then after those 2 weeks, if you go back to your normal life on the social media side of things, and not be talking about this specifically, your life would go back to normal instantly. But you choose not to do it, because you know that this is generating a lot of buzz for you.
I have no comment on that one.
Don't you think that's true, though?
I don't know.
Because the perfect example is, and this is a brilliant segue, and you have to give me credit for this, right?
Where you wait, then I'll give you credit for it. You can't say this is a brilliant example.
I'm asking for it, right? Because we were going to talk about this anyways. But the whole Jay-Z thing that happened, right? Where Beyonce's sister and him had the little fight thing in the elevator. Like, bro, and you know this, that was the biggest news, regardless of if you follow, like, you know, like, hip-hop related pages, or if it's like mainstream news, whatever it was, that was like the biggest story for a week. But what did they do? None of them came out explaining anything on social media. None of them came out apologizing or giving any context. They weren't going to add any flame to that fire, because they knew, like, every single time I say something, they're going to put the little update and then bring it back to the story of what happened, right? They all went quiet on social media. No one came out to address it and said, oh, I need to talk to people about it. Like, no, they didn't. Beyonce didn't say nothing. Jay-Z didn't say nothing, right? And then they gave it like a month, 2 months off, and after that they're back to normal, and no one talks about it.
They did talk about it, though. They did talk about it.
Very, very later, though.
In their music.
Yeah.
In their music, you know,
like well after the whole initial buzz kind of died out about it.
There's that Beyonce line, you better call Becky with the good hair or something. I can't sing like Beyonce, obviously. So I had to stop myself there. But there's still an element of it where people are profiteering off the celebrity buzz and interest, right? I guess from kind of Beyonce and Jay-Z's perspective is they are artists, right? And they're making art from their life experiences, which they are entitled to as artists. So that could be the defense for that. But it's still a celebrity culture filled environment where, you know, Beyonce's now talking about the affair on her album.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
And then that brings it back up again. But at least they're in control maybe of the narrative.
Exactly, because they talked about it in a way where they were like, we will talk about it the way we want to. But if they started coming out and like started doing the whole social media thing straight away, right? It would have been completely different.
It could have been, but you know, it's still the same thing, right?
It's not though. It's really not. Because one is all about popularity and how much you're getting, and the other one is, okay, this thing happened, right? Our fans want to know about it. So like the medium that we connect with our fans with, which is actually music, because that's what we do as musicians, we're going to put it out that way.
But I think people just talk about it slightly differently, right? People talk about it as celebrities, and sometimes, it's still the same thing. It's still us talking about other people's lives, what's going on in their lives. It's that hype. And people sell stuff from that, right? Marketing companies, benefit hugely from the celebrity culture. Like if you look in the UK, Love Island, for example, it's the same kind of principle. Like people, get their 15 minutes of fame. People talk about what their lives are, what's happening in their lives for that particular moment in time, what's that season's running. Then afterwards, they then effectively get these deals with these fashion brands per se, and then they start selling stuff to people. So it's almost like a whole thing that feeds in itself. And then some of the people in the media start writing about them and their lives. And it's like a full circle again. It's like let's
be honest
complex.
Though. How many of those people who get their little 15 minutes of fame on Love Island actually have a good career afterwards?
Hey, Molly May is
that's what I'm saying.
Molly, I don't know.
That's one in how many though?
I don't know.
That's because when she went into the whole thing, right, she was able to capture like the like people liked her and all that. Like how many can actually do it? Not a lot. Like maybe they have like a career for like 2 or 3 years afterwards, if that, and that's it. Yeah. And that goes back to the whole popularity thing, right? Like you went in there for like your 15 minutes of you being popular, and then once the next popular thing happened, people forgot about you. Whereas before, when it was about talent, people lasted a bit longer because you were like, yeah, the person's still talented, or he makes good music, or good movies, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think use Love Island, they put limited time frame really for their fame and the opportunity to make money. There's also like other aspects to it. Like, does that make sense? Like there's loads of stuff like mental health around Love Island, which is quite bad again. Like all this celebrity stuff is like real people at the core. So it's kind of like your neighbours again, where you talk about them and they're like, oh, something's happening.
But then if you go on the show knowing that's where you're going to be and that's what you desire, right? Like you want to be in the spotlight. Like, for example, like we do this podcast, right? Once we put it out there, whatever people's opinions are, whether they like it, whether they hate it, we can't go and be like, oh, guys, only like it. Let's all be positive here because that's people's choice. Do you know what I mean? Like we're making an active decision here to say, we'll put it out. Whatever your reaction to this podcast is, that's down to you, right?
We've got a special email set aside for anyone who's got constructive feedback, any comments that they think we can improve on. Is called straightinthebin@gmail.com. We'll send a response.
I didn't create that email internationally. But that's the point I'm trying to make, though, right? Like we put it out there. How the world perceives is how they perceive it, and that's their opinion. Like that's you get the choice to say that. So like all of these people who come onto like Love Island, right, and they crave the fame. Yeah, like once you get into the spotlight, some people are not going to like you, and that's just how it is because you can't, like not everyone's going to like the same thing. So if someone says, "Oh, you're craving this fame, now you're on my screen, but I don't like it, and I'm going to express it," you can't cry about it and be like, "Oh, people are talking about me." Like that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line, right? Fame, fortune, but I think as long as people have the right support around them once they start to gain fame, and I'm going to do my slap.
God, what's the next topic then?
This might be the final one of the day, actually.
Do you know what? I'm going to put you on the spot because I'll put you on the spot here, right?
All right.
We've talked about celebrity, like embarrassing or awkward moments, right? You got to give me one of yours.
An embarrassing moment.
It could be embarrassing, it could be awkward, it could be like a moment that you remembered for not positive reasons.
Okay, so recently I was hosting an event to talk about, stuff that's happening and kind of innovation. And this was an in-person event, right? So it was on a Friday night. Everyone's buzzing, everyone's excited. And I was one of the presenters. I was presenting a segment. So I walked onto the stage. there's about 40 people in the room and about 100 people watching virtually, right? So 140 people. Just feeling myself, right? Feeling myself bopping onto the stage. Boom, stacked it. Fell, like staggered a little bit. I was like,
How bad was it? Did you like fully fall or did you recover halfway?
I recovered halfway.
Do a little moonwalk after that. Yeah, it's all part of the routine.
Yeah. It's part of the routine. And the guy I was with was like, we practiced that. I was like, you know what? There's no coming back from this. There's no coming back. And after the event, people said, "Oh, did you plan that?" I was like,
"Yeah, of course I did."
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah. So that's my most recently embarrassing moment. There are loads, by the way, but that's the most recent one that's still in my mind.
Okay.
What's yours?
I'm not gonna give one. No, okay, I'll give one because I was thinking about it, right? So it's sort of like recent-ish. I went to like this kind of gathering, kind of party thing, right? And I was talking to this one person, and I got the name wrong throughout the whole night, and I kept calling him by the wrong name. And during the conversation, I mentioned it a couple times, but for some reason, they didn't tell me that wasn't the name until afterwards, right? When I was going back home and I was with a couple friends, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I was talking to him. Like, he's a pretty chilled out person." And they were like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "The dude I was talking to, man." Like, I described it, and one of my friends was like, "Yeah, that's not his name. His name is something else."
Oh.
And I felt like such an idiot afterwards.
That's not that guy though. He should have corrected you.
He should have, but like. Yeah, but like I kept calling him the wrong name, and afterwards I just felt like such an idiot. And I was like, "Oh man, okay." And
he must hate you.
We haven't spoken since. So
send in the podcast though.
I will do. He might just put a negative comment and just be like, "Yep, I'm that guy," and F you. But
yeah, he can send his complaints to straight
into the bin.
straight in the bin at gmail.com. We might actually need to make that account.
Copyright it before someone else gets to it.
Yeah, a complaints email. All right.
Cool.
There's one thing I was going to mention. Britney Spears, 07 Britney, she's going through a lot. Free Britney. I think with Britney, we don't need to say much, the case of the dad. So again, it's like that theme with celebrities. It's funny when it's happening in the moment. And then you look back on it and like, oh, there's some deep issues behind this entertainment. So yeah, it's my last contribution. Britney Spears, 07.
I'll be honest with you, like obviously I've heard the recent headlines around the court case, but I've got no idea what the whole situation is. So I'll just take your view for it and be like, yeah, free Britney, 07, whatever that means.
People will say that. It's another cultural moment. People will say like, oh, like I'm having my Britney 07 moment. She shaved her hair, some stuff like that, because she was like going through a lot. So, yeah.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people, like they, when you just hear certain things and you kind of stick to it, it's like when you talk to non-boxing people, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, Muhammad Ali was the best." And it's like, well, why was he the best? Like, give me a reason. And they've got nothing to say. But because they've heard it all their life, they just automatically believe it.
That's me. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying about you. I'm just saying generally in it. It's like people are like, "Oh yeah, Michael Jackson was the best entertainer ever." It's like, all right, give me 2 reasons why then. And it's just like, "Oh, he's Michael Jackson." And it's like, well, that's not a reason. That's and true. Like people just pick up on these things and they just follow it without even knowing why they're following it.
You're basically saying Tinashe while you're saying Britney 07.
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm saying. Unless you come back with a shaved head, right? Like you're not having that moment, so you can't relate to it.
I'm not shaving my head. No way.